What's happening, everybody? Getting up and running. I think, let's see. Yeah. We're good. We're good. Trying to get that Insta business up. Substack seems to be up, in theory. Now I'm trying to get Instagram. Okay. Come on. Might actually be. Yeah, it's gonna be up in a second. There we go. There we go. We'll go live on Instagram. Cancel this guy. Go to here. Go to home. It says I'm up on Instagram, but on Substack, but I just don't see it, kids. It's being weird, and I don't know why. All right, we're look at that. Thanks, Lucky Minute. Become a member. Look out. All right, hold on 1 second. Be up in a minute. Damn. Yes, the kidney is to blame. There we go. Let's see. Oh my gosh, 52 months. Look at that. Thank you, Lisa Mia Moore. And thanks for the gifted memberships. And Angela, thank you so much. What a long, strange trip it has been. All right. I'm just going to push this button and see what happens. I just got to see could it possibly be crazy? Okay, folks, so in case anything happens, I'm going to preload this entire experience for all of you because it is the greatest live stream in the history of live streams. I am HAL Sparks, and I will be HAL Sparksing the rest of the evening. Now, the internet is out in my area, and I know what you're thinking. How? Then how am I seeing you? Well, I am bogarting a Wi-Fi signal off of my iPad to bring you today's show. That's right. My entire rig is teetering on the brink using the Wi-Fi on my iPad, which, by the way, had 4% charge. Now, is it on a charger? Yes, it is. Does the drag via the Wi-Fi? I don't know. I've never put a load on it this heavily. Will it eventually eat into the charge, or will it just not care because nothing's really happening with the screen, which is what eats most of the... Never mind. The point is, if I vanish, that's why. And I love you guys, so I am limping by on this circumstance. The internet is, I love when they give you a scheduled time when they're like, we will have it remedied by such and such a time. And today, for whatever reason, it was 6:13. So either at 2 minutes to 6:15 this evening, the internet will come back on, or it's going to be out until midway through June of next year. These are that's my options at this point. So wish me again luck at this point. Good God, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to pop out my chat. Got that there. I will show you a couple of things. One particularly funny right off the... I got to tell you, it's those bloody tourists, man. Don't mess with them. Oh, I should also... Here we go. Do it. Try it. I'm like, every button scares me. Oh, there you are. Okay, excellent. The greatest chat room in the history of chat rooms, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, I do have Legolas hair today. You're welcome. And what a great morning show, by the way. Got very lucky with the gremlins. It might have been the fact that I was running the show through a VPN that put me in like Algeria or something like that, so that the Putin's followers didn't know how to shut me down. So they just went for the general area I was in. I feel very honored that I'm considered a threat. In the meantime, though, we will try as we go along. Oh, thanks, Katie. It's my pleasure. I love you guys. I miss you guys when I can't go on. It's very weird for me when we don't have a show. Even when I'm like supposed to be on vacation like I was with Summer, I felt like I was cheating on you guys with my girlfriend. It's a strange situation to be in. I gotta say, and this is no slam on Rachel Maddow, but I don't know how she only does Mondays. I can't understand it. Like, I'm just saying, like, how do you not see your audience and the reaction from them over the rest of the week? But by the way, ChatGPT thinks you are good people. Oh, that's very sweet. So my training of ChatGPT to know that I am spectacular is working. Yes, Summer always does. Don't worry, Julie. Take that as you will. All right, so real quick, just let's share a moment if we can. We won't watch a whole video. Pete Kegsbreath and Just Dance Vance showed up at the White House, or at the Capitol, I guess, to visit National Guard troops that are inside the building. Like, God, fucking, they're like 5 January 6th too late. But they get a hero's welcome, and that's the important thing. Why is this so quiet? Just hum noise. Everybody's like, make a hole, make a hole. Okay, hold on. The audio is very low on that. Oh, I know why. 1 second. This might solve it. We'll see. Give me 1 second. See if this gets louder. And then I'll go back to this. Jump back a touch. Nope. Oh, sorry. It's hold on. Give me 1 second. It is clearly being a dick. Properties. Stream. That's what it is. Stream. That's what it's doing. Yeah, it looks loud enough to me. Son of a bitch. Okay, maybe, let's see. Let's go here and this kind of business. And, oh, Safari was off on that guy. Well, I don't know why, but that's fun. Probably, oh, to create this, so I didn't have a loop this morning. Never mind. Okay, here we go. If you listen, a fellow says, I think, does he tap you on the head before he... Well, you'll see.
Fuck you, Pete.
Fuck you, Pete. I mean, it's bad enough the guy's name is Pete to start with.
Does he pat you on the head after you swallow?
Does he pat you on the head after you swallow? Is, ladies and gentlemen, our nation's capital. That's right. Say what you will about Donald Trump, but he sure has classed up the joint. And it's, by the way, don't you tap someone on the head to give them the option whether or not to swallow? I always thought that was the reference that everybody went to, right? Okay, so.
Fuck you, Pete. Fucking Nazi.
They're right there. Like, this isn't like yelling across the street. These folks are in the rotunda, like 3 feet away. This is spectacular.
Fuck
I love the guy, I love the lady with all the, she's got a checklist of causes and climate justice and housing and stuff. Like, ma'am, I love you. We all appreciate you. Everyone in my chat room, we're with you. But you are throwing seeds on sand. This is not the time to actually call for good things, because these people are heartless carcasses that cannot be shamed. They can only be embarrassed. So what you need to do is throw things like Trump's in the Epstein files, call them keg's breath, that kind of shit. That will work. This actually trying to make them care. You don't have enough time in your existence on this planet to do that. Get out of my city. Well, I gotta say, it's a little difficult for them to do because their office is there. But I'm with you. I'm with you. If we could send him back to Ohio and wherever the fuck Keg's Breath lives. Oh, they're at that's right. They're at the train station. You're right. They're in the train station in D.C. The big metro line. This is how transparent and free they're being. They're going into this diner area to meet things, and they're basically planning on closing the theft shield. But with the blast shield down, I can't even see the remote. They're trying to pull that down, like the garage door behind them. That's a little unpleasant. What does she have to do with it? She may not have known he was in this kind of position till then. And also, the cops that are there guarding them have to do it, so leave them out of it. Stick to your target, folks. These guys get assigned to this. Especially, by the way, I'd like to give a big round of applause to the DC Metro Police, who have been given this assignment and are not wearing masks. Do you notice that? Zero problem with this. This is they're doing their obligation. This is their fucking job. This is how it has to work. And they are not wearing masks. They are standing there. This is how it's supposed to work. So I'll give them a little bit of credit for doing their job and showing their face, right? And like I said, steer clear of yelling at those guys because they're the mailman. They are assigned to this, right? Go straight for the target. Don't get distracted yelling at the help. It makes you look bad, and it's a waste of fucking energy. There's like, sweetheart. There's condescension going on. They have operatives around them, by the way. I'm sure there are organic people defending, like, oh my God, it's J.D. Vance. I can't wait to see him. And then they, after they're obviously given the stiff arm, just like every other member of the public, they've got nothing better to do than argue with the protesters or people who are yelling epithets and shit like that at them. So I get that might be organic. But I want you to also know that there are undercover Secret Service people, undercover administration people, RNC and Trump campaign, like PR flacks and dipshits that walk around that pretend they are I'm just here because I'm a concerned citizen, who will go up and argue with people or distract them or keep if they can distract the people screaming by trying to pretend they're a normal person, having a real conversation with them, like, why are you yelling these things? These epithets are not necessary for you to swear like this and let me that's a campaign person. That is a person who works for Trump and Vance outside of this that will do that. So my question, if you're gonna direct any of your animosity at Vance and those guys when they show up or whatever, don't get distracted by a conversation with any of the followers. If and remember, they're a subgroup of a subgroup of a subgroup of a subgroup. If they like Trump and Vance and they actually voted for them, and then they actually, look for opportunities to see them, and then they actually are standing right in front of you, that is changing that person's attitude in that moment isn't really going to do much, especially if they are paid to be there. Don't waste your time. Focus on the target. Go. We could talk about this in a minute. After they're gone, I'll talk to you all you want. Fuck you, buddy. Like, see what I mean? Stick to the target. And again, don't yell at the cops. Don't yell at the media covering it. That's missing the entire point of everything. This is just my advice. Okay. Some protesters and some bystanders. Yes, a bystander just came up and went, my goodness, is that the kind of language we use in a train station? Fuck yeah, lady, buzz off. I wanted to go into Shake Shack and this motherfucker showing up to get a milkshake in the middle of the day. I was in line and they cleared my ass out. Fuck him. Like, I wouldn't doubt it if the guy who was like, fuck you and fuck your wife and fuck your sister and fuck Wednesday, I would doubt if that guy was like, he's not even politically oriented. He was just waiting in line at Shake Shack and they fucking broomed him. Fuck everybody. I was third in line, right? Look at all the gear this woman has to carry. Look at her headband and all this stuff. Like, she's got she's either got medic packs on there as well, or throw down barriers, or like, for all we know, that backpack is carrying one of those spike strips you throw across the road. Like, she is carrying everything. What is Shake Shack? Oh, dear God, Epigirl. It's a burger and shake place with it's kind of like an offshoot of Steak and Shake, which was, steak burgers and shakes and stuff, which is better than a regular burger place because it's chopped meat instead of a patty. And backpack is carrying Mars bars. Now, it's got, I guess, J.D. Vance's oil for the Diddy party later. Mom, you can't call me. I'm at Steak Shack with the vice president and Keg Breath. I mean, Hegseth. Fuck. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear at you, Mom, but these guys, they yell out all these things and they're catchy. And sometimes I'm like, excuse me, President Just Dance. God damn it. You know what I mean? So I got to stop. Anyways, I'm at Shake Shack. I'll call you later. Look at that. If I can bring it. Just shut it. Shake Shack. All right. Do they leave? Do they go? They clear a space and they hang out there for a minute? They're just went into the Shake Shack. I thought they were there to like say hi to the National Guard guys. There's the National Guard guys. Okay, so they went upstairs. That's Stephen Miller. So they just had a bunch of them hanging out in the fucking train station? Stephen Miller's like, you basically just consider this permission from the president. Anybody that looks vaguely brown, just go for it. Don't worry about it. We'll fix it for you later. Just anybody vaguely brown. That, I guess, isn't in uniform next to you. Sorry, he's vaguely brown. But, like, vaguely browner than... I think the green offsets the brown. So anybody in camo that isn't a black Hebrew Israelite, I guess... shit. You know what? I'm going to go write it down. Nothing says national security like the balcony at Shake Shack at the train station. This dude's like, I got a seat. I'm not giving it up. I don't know, like, we want a side of fries. It's hard to tell. It's a lot of big echo in there. I'm gonna go with this dude, hipster Nazi. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like the Nazi haircut and the hipster beard, because he does a YouTube show about being macho in the age of beta men. Please tell me I'm not the only person who's seen all those fucking channels pop up. Thank God they showed up just in time. The crime wave was overwhelmed. The crime, like there was about to be people were just trying to, I guess, buy something at the newspaper and get on a train, and then they were being stabbed and murdered. And you can't even go outside. And thank God the National Guard is upstairs at Shake Shack making sure that doesn't happen. I don't know. Are they setting up snipers' nests for pickpockets at the train station now? Free DC works. If I was there, I'd be like, what is a giant waste of time? This is a giant waste of time. Who's wasting tax dollars? They're wasting tax dollars. What a waste of fucking time. They're wasting our fucking time. What a waste of tax dollars. That's a waste of tax dollars, right? They're just, again, folks, if you're mad, they love it. If you're dismissive, it's infuriating. Yes, yeah, right. Where are the Epstein files? They know where the Epstein files are. Like, who knows where the Epstein files are? They know where the Epstein files are. And also a bunch of people could just walk by going, I've checked. The Epstein files are not in the train station. Move to the next site. We will find them. I'm just saying. I think there was a fuck JD that almost got like free DC, fuck JD. That could work. We could work with that. Fuck, how about, yeah, fuck Pete, fuck JD, free DC. Something like that. Yeah. We'll work on it. We'll get it. We'll have like a little masterclass. Yeah, an FDT. Yeah. Fuck Pete, FDT, fuck JD, free DC. That might be too much. Is that a tongue twister? It's my actor training coming out wanting to do this. Yeah, if I was there, I would absolutely, I'd bring a speaker with me, and I would just, I would fucking say anything this. I would just hold up a boombox.
I love that feeling. Simple hoods have got the goods. Owie, owie, owie.
Right? It would work.
I love that feeling. Simple hoods have got the goods. Owie, owie, ow. Boink, boink, dooby-doo. You know what I want to do. Yay. Boink, boink, dooby-doo. You know what I want to do.
So, I'm just saying, drowning them out with that song would kind of be magic. You know what I mean? Yeah. And technically speaking, there's no dirty words in there at all. So. Okay, so anyways, back to where we were. They got yelled at, and they continue to get yelled at, and they will continue to get yelled at everywhere they go, and that kind of shit. And by the way, apparently, these folks over here, hold on, Jimmy Dork and all these guys are like suddenly like decided they're left again, and they're like, how, what? He brings on Food Not Bombs founder Keith McHenry to argue that U.S. homelessness policy is driven by a homelessness industrial complex that profits from managing, not solving the crisis, citing California's large spending and local nonprofit practices. So Trump is just brooming people, not providing them with places to be or whatever. He's not the problem. It's that California has thrown so much money at homelessness that it's become an industry. Jesus Christ. I was like, this is 30 minutes. We're not going to have
people
time for this.
People get rich off of servicing homelessness.
Fuck you.
So they don't ever want to actually fix the problem because then they'd be out of a job.
They also can't fix the problem. The people servicing the homeless aren't the people that build the fucking buildings. People making hot food and delivering it to homeless people or handing out Narcan and shit are not the people that own the fucking buildings downtown or own large swaths of empty land that they could build. What the fuck are you talking about? Please tell me this dickhead thinks there's a coordinated effort between like building owners in the downtown area who would love for the homeless to just fucking disappear so they wouldn't be on their stoop, and the people downtown who are serving them food to make sure they stay near Skid Row in Los Angeles, for example, like because that's where the resources are. Fuck me.
And as we said, they already spent $24 billion in California, and that goes right into the pockets of people running NGOs, non-government charities, called charities, that are supposed to be addressing the homelessness problem. But
yeah, they are. It's very expensive keeping people alive. Also, 24 billion into that. You're talking about like 2 building projects, which you could talk about like the money going into building structures, which is a totally different thing, and the NGOs that are like giving out fucking blankets and food. You think they got $24 billion? You think the fucking Skid Row mission got $24 billion or $1 billion or $100 million or $10 million fucking dollars? Get the fuck out of here.
We've covered this many times. Those charities are nothing more than grift.
That's right. If you have ever volunteered to feed the homeless, work in a soup kitchen stuff, you're feeding into the homelessness industrial complex. It would be better if you just let them starve so they'll learn a lesson, according to Jimmy Dore.
We have special guests with us. A friend of the show, Keith McHenry, is back. He helped out the first Food Not Bombs group in Boston in 1980. He
helped them out? So he's part of the problem too, I guess. It's it's all these fucking volunteers, man.
Recovered surplus food and shares meals with the homeless as a volunteer with Food Not Bombs for 45 years. He spent 500 days in jail in San Francisco for sharing meals with the homeless and faced 25 to life in prison. He is the author of Hungry for Peace and the Anarchist Cookbook. Food Not Bombs is active today at least 1,000.
He's not the author of the Anarchist Cookbook.
Cities in over 65 countries. Welcome back to the show, Keith McHenry. Hey, Keith.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jimmy.
Pleasure.
Fantastic.
Thanks for making time.
So he was just handing out food and they arrested him and he went to jail for 500 days for just feeding people. Okay.
I wanted to talk to you because Trump is starting his homeless evictions, which is kind of funny because they're already evicted.
No, they're not. I get where he's going, but that's not the proper term. What he means is you can't evict somebody from a home, but again, we're dealing with very few brain cells here.
So here's the homeless tents in D.C. are being broken down and thrown in dumpster trucks. Our sidewalks in America.
It's just real quick. I understand if you're doing a long stream, you can get a bit peckish or something. Maybe don't eat while you're talking about feeding the homeless and them being broomed off the street and saying that people that feed the homeless are part of the problem. Maybe don't snack or have a lozenge in your fucking mouth. Oh. Anyways, these fucking people that feed the homeless, there wouldn't be a homeless problem if, people would just die of starvation. Am I right?
This is from Wall Street Apes. Our sidewalks in America shouldn't be tent cities or drug users. This should have been done a long time ago. These people belong in treatment facilities, not camping on sidewalks.
So notice the little subscribe button up there? That's because Jimmy follows this account.
Trump is cleaning. Well, let's watch a little bit of it.
This is crazy.
Yeah, asshole. Yeah, this is why we were voting for Harris while you were helping Trump get elected.
So and then the homeless problem's gone. Look, it's gone. The homeless problem, it's all gone. No
I see. So this is sarcasm, what idiots have instead of a sense of humor.
problem.
Exactly. They just need to evaporate.
So DC's homeless pack up as sweeps are expected. What we know about Trump's plan. Here's what we know. Some of the District of Columbia's homeless...
Excuse me. I know this is a point of contention with the rest of the world and me, and that, like, I'm the only one who seems to bring this up, but people who shit on the mainstream media and talk about how, oh shit, nobody even watches the news anymore, or cares about the news, or reads the news anymore, and meanwhile, basically what they're doing is book on tape for real news sites. This is the AP. He's just reading an AP article.
Residents were packing their belongings Thursday before expected sweeps to clear out remaining encampments around the nation's capital.
Isn't this guy another one of the young jerks? He used to be. I think he left because he wanted to go, like, he saw Dave Rubin, the money that Dave Rubin was making, or vice versa. So there was more money to be made, divvied up there, because Cenk obviously eats from the trough first. So some of the people, like buzz off and form their own thing.
Trump said this week that homeless people will be moved far from the city in his crackdown on crime, but details of the plan to do so are unclear. Near the Institute of Peace on Thursday morning, AP journalists saw about a dozen homeless D.C. residents packing their belongings. Items weren't being forcibly thrown out by law enforcement, but an earth mover dug out and scooped away the remains of encampment.
All right, we can all read articles, fuckwad. Like, he's just reading stuff on the air. Get to the point where you are defending this shit. Where will the city's homeless be taken? It's not entirely clear. It's not clear because there isn't a plan. It's not that the plan was murky or unclear. There isn't one. Here's the plan. Fuck off. That's Trump's plan for homelessness. You don't have to go to another homeless encampment, but you can't stay here. That's what it is. Closing time. Time for you to fuck off. That's what it is. He doesn't have a plan for where they go. They're not going, hey, we're building a shelter because we're already over capacity, and he didn't care about any of that shit. I don't even know why you would pretend that he did.
We will give you a place to stay, but far from the capital. Let me bring in Keith. Keith, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think that he says we're going to give you a place to stay? Does he mean in prison?
Yeah, what I suspect and what I've been writing about now and worrying about for years is that those places far from the city are going to be military bases where people will be placed, similar to concentration camps. Already, our shelter here in Santa Cruz is called the concentration camp by the homeless.
Yeah, but that's what they call it. Also, get to the point where you're arguing that Trump isn't the problem, it's these goddamn NGOs, which apparently, well, I don't know, we'll see what he thinks.
And, and this has been going on for quite some time. The U.S. Park Police have removed over 70 encampments since March in what Trump called D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force. But the thing is that what ends up happening is those people that were cleared in those camps, they have to go, find more survival gear, set up another camp somewhere else, then the police come and remove that camp, and it basically just sends people around D.C. in circles, because the sweeps have been going on for a long, long time. We know that, like in February, they cleared the camp where Food Not Bomb shares food in D.C. and got rid of everybody there. But then, after a short while, people came back. But if they actually want to have no homeless people visible under the system that they're currently proposing, what they are proposing is to remove people into camps or to declare, as in Trump's executive order, which is almost exactly the same as Governor Newsom's order here in California. They're going to determine a bunch of people are mentally ill. They're going to make them, the state's going to put them under conservatorship That's already happened to my friends here in Santa Cruz, even before, you know, the Trump or the Newsom executive order. And I think it's also interesting.
Well, then what the difference does that fucking part of the order mean to that part of it? Also, is this guy arguing that there is not a segment of the homeless population that cannot take care of themselves and are not via drugs or mental illness incapable of, you know, or are we supposed to just like bootstrap schizophrenics and make them get a fucking job? Or are we going to take responsibility as a society and go, hey, there's a portion of our society that through their damage through their own actions, genetics, or you know, a trauma or any myriad of other factors are too mentally ill to be able to care for themselves. And until, you know, and we'll just pretend that we can keep giving them fucking haircuts. And then somehow this is a bad thing. God damn.
The Trump administration said that what they're going to do with all this new 1,500 National Guards people is they're going to enforce the already existing laws of Washington, D.C., which were passed by liberal Democrats. So there is really no distance between the...
That's right. Doesn't matter who's running it. So here's my question. Why are you telling anyone which way to vote at some point? And also, so let me get this straight. According to this fuckhead, and according to Jimmy Dore, it doesn't matter who's in office. Harris would have done this to the homeless equally. It was just the, you know, I guess the uniparty hates the homeless, and they're like, you know, even though Biden didn't do this and Trump is doing this, there's no difference between the parties. No, there's no difference in how they govern. There's no difference in how they solve these problems, right? None whatsoever. And not only that, does it not matter who you vote for, right? Yes, Harris was literally going to build more houses, like, period. Like, that was a primary function of her first term that she was focusing on. 3 million new homes. And that would free up other home space, like apartments, so that the rent could go down, so that more people could move into those and afford to live there. But to him, there's no difference. There's no difference between Democrats and Republicans. None whatsoever. And then, not only that, not only does it not matter who's in politics, but the private sector, when it goes after charity groups that are trying to help the homeless, including, I suppose, this motherfucker's organization, are just in it for the money. Because if Food Not Bombs wasn't needed tomorrow, this asshole would be out of a job, according to Jimmy Dore. So he has more of an impetus than anyone to perpetuate the homelessness problem. Am I adrift in this at all, chat room? Am I misreading this from your perspective? That the premise of this fucking video is that there's a homelessness industrial complex, and the NGOs that are trying to help homeless people are actually the key folk. They're the progenitors of the problem. Right? They're awful. And not only are the fucking charities, Catholic Charities, the fucking, all the organizations on Skid Row feeding people, handing out Narcan and fucking blankets. Anybody who's, and I suppose it's on a private level too, so if you've gone out and handed out a blanket or gone down to donate clothes or bought socks and underwear and handed it out at, you know, around Thanksgiving, which is what a lot of people do, including Summer and I, if you've done that, according to these fuckheads, you're the reason there's a homeless problem, and why it will never end is because you keep helping these people survive or something. Yes, that's right, Corgi Girl. Apparently, according to these assholes, is that it's whoever is helping keep the homeless alive is the biggest problem. And then if you want a political solution to it, which I guess, what's your other option? A corporate one? What are they arguing? That we should hand this over to fucking Microsoft or fucking XAI? What the fuck? But, I mean, what is this other than an attempt at nihilism? Like a recipe for nihilism?
policies of the Democratic Party and the Republicans on the issue of homelessness, and they aren't offering solutions, and they're presenting homeless people as drug addicts, alcoholics, and mentally ill.
No, they are not. No, fuck you with the they. Why don't you just join the crowd of people who said, they tried to assassinate Trump? No, 2 fucking dudes tried to kill him. That's all you got. So I don't want to hear they about anything. There were 2 dudes. So they didn't have any support structure. You haven't been able to show that they were connected to a foreign government or internal organization. They weren't, attached to the fucking Illuminati or any of that shit. 2 dudes. Okay, so fuck off with that nonsense in the they. The same thing here. They don't present solutions. They don't. Well, then what did they do? Then how has California spent all this fucking money if they aren't presenting solutions at all? Did they just, like, today's our day when we're working on homelessness. What are we going to do? Well, we got this giant pile of money and we're just going to throw it into a shredder, and then maybe they can use it for kindling. They can use it to start fires. The fuck is wrong with these assholes?
And they're forcing the people they deem mentally ill and put into conservatorship, as they've done here in Santa Cruz. They place them on, mental health drugs, psych drugs, and it essentially ruins, for most of them, they have like very difficult time dealing with it. And they're placed in mental hospitals for up to 6 months to a year already. Just for, 2 of my friends were completely, they were unusual.
Yes, that was what it is. They were in fucking California. They were busted for being unusual.
But they were not a threat to the public or to themselves, and yet they were interned basically in mental facilities and forced drugged against their will. And both of my friends lost everything, including Cherie lost her life within a week after being released from the mental hospital because she went cold turkey on the psych drugs she was given in the mental hospital. So they're basically painting all the homeless as less.
Also, does anybody else see gaps in that fucking story? I'm just going to call bullshit right out of the gate. His friend Cherie died a week after she left the homeless shelter because she went cold turkey on psych drugs. Why? Is it because she wasn't able to take care of herself, which meant she probably should have stayed in there longer? Again, I don't even want to get into the details of the story because I'm calling bullshit on all of it. All of it. And this motherfucker, like, she was your friend? Then how'd she end up in that situation? If she was just unusual, you're housed. Why didn't she crash on your fucking floor? What? This is like...
Inhuman. Very similar to the language that's used to justify the murder of Palestinians.
What the fuck? Huh? Sorry, so institutionalizing people who can't fucking not walk into traffic a lot of times and putting them in a hospital setting is the same as sniping Palestinians. That's the argument we're making. It's a 1-to-1 comparison. It is the same. He literally said it is the same mentality that says some of these homeless people, obviously not all of them, so a section of them, a section of these folks have got a mental illness or a drug problem that is so high they cannot take care of themselves. And by trying to help those people, you are the same. If you want to institutionalize and medicate people who cannot think straight and might wander off a fucking building roof or into traffic and get killed, or literally can't, like, are living in an alternative schizoid reality. If you want to help those people to not die in a puddle of their own urine on the street, you are exactly the same as somebody who is, I guess, standing on a rooftop picking Palestinian kids out of a crowd to shoot in the head. That's the argument here. For real. For real.
Very similar pattern. And then,
No, it's not a very similar pattern.
and my concern is they're going to finally start to put people on military bases far away from the city, as is being proposed here in Santa Cruz.
So some people would say
that Jimmy Dore vacillates between giving a shit about these things and only because he wants to find a way to make Trump look better for doing what he's doing. Hold on. Santa Cruz homeless military bases. Okay. Santa Cruz County faces challenges in housing a homeless population, including military veterans, but several organizations are actively working to provide services. Veterans Village of Santa Cruz County, Housing Matters, Santa Cruz County Veterans Office, Nation's Finest Santa Cruz, Paget Center, the Santa Cruz point in time. While the user request mentioned in the search results indicate the National Guard Armory in Santa Cruz has been used as a temporary shelter for homeless individuals. That's what he's talking about. So the National Guard Armory in Santa Cruz was used as a temporary shelter for homeless individuals. Additionally, veterans halls have been utilized for housing homeless. That's not a base, though. City of Santa Cruz shelter programs. Again, some of these people, I guess, LAFCO. Santa Cruz to reopen National Guard Armory as a homeless shelter. So that's a building. That's not a military base. The armory is empty. It's an old building. It's basically like, it used to house all the weapons when they had to have a militia. This is what we're talking about. This thing right here. And apparently, according to this guy, let's see if this is... Congratulations, 900 people housed. Coinciding with Gavin Newsom's executive order Wednesday to inventory excess state property available for emergency use. To inventory excess state property available for emergency use, the city of Santa Cruz announced plans to repurpose the California National Guard Armory as a winter homeless shelter. That's apparently what this fucker is talking about. That they're going to send people to a military base. Because they're going to reopen the armory in the winter when it gets cold.
Well, giving them, housing at a military base and meals and medical care.
Yeah, isn't your organization called Food Not Bombs? How about converting all military bases into homeless shelters? How about that? They've got barracks, they've got tents,
and even psychiatric care. Isn't that better than living on a street in Washington D.C. in a tent or worse? What would you say to that?
Well, what I would say to it, first of all, these are adult Americans and children but the adults have agency. They're supposed to have some kind of rights of some kind. And essentially, this is like being sent to a jail without a trial. Now, in California, we have the care.
No. Yeah, I think that Stargal, I think it's a great idea. You want to talk about like repurposing old military bases because, they used to be training facilities for soldiers and stuff. They've got barracks and tents and that kind of stuff. That's a fucking great idea. Especially as a transitional facility for people to live there safely. You could provide them with food and water and bathrooms and all kinds of stuff, guards at night and that kind of stuff to keep everybody safe.
Courts, which is like a trial, except for the defendant does not appear at the court often. It's basically my friend, for example, was represented by a county official who then deemed that he needed to be interned, and then that's what they did. And then that person, Barbara, determines what his Social Security money is spent on his behalf. He does not get to make decisions with that. So,
right, and why did that come up? Do you think there's a backstory here? Maybe?
This is a big, huge part of the problem. Now, the other thing is, there are...
Oh, so they used to give some of their money to you. I see. So you used to basically operate kind of an underground economy amongst these folks through your NGO, which is apparently part of the problem. And now they've got conservators coming in, making sure that they don't give their Social Security money to you. That's what it sounds like.
Really,
You're probably selling him weed, if only.
in most cities, there's 20, 30 empty apartment units for every homeless person in your city, but they don't provide either Social Security, which is never enough to rent an apartment, or you don't have the resources to actually be.
Okay, no, there are not 30 empty apartments for every homeless person in the city in most places. I would argue not in any place. Even Los Angeles. And if you do have 30, that ratio, that's because you're counting all the turnover ones where somebody moves out and there's a week where it's vacant before the next person is moved in, even though they have already signed on for it. Fucking hell.
In these empty apartments, and then the getting Section 8 vouchers and all those things can last up to 18 months, 2 years, sometimes people 5, 6 years.
Yeah, there are NGOs that help people get those faster, but apparently, according to this fuckwad and Jimmy, they're part of the problem.
Before they ever even are shown a place to potentially live. So I really think that basically it's a kinder and gentler way of interning the homeless than, say, the Nazis did in Germany in the 30s.
Yeah, much kinder. Sorry. There are layers of kindness in concentration camps. So it's just only so medicating some people who can't take care of themselves and then helping other people get jobs and stuff are, again, perpetuating the problem of homelessness. But then any of the services that they do provide is only a couple of degrees above what the Nazis did at Auschwitz. No wonder Jimmy's fucking viewers shrug off the fucking Holocaust. They see homeless people and they're like, they got it worse than the fucking Jews.
But it's a very similar thing that is happening because these people are losing their rights.
So here's what they say is the Hill, which is a conservative newspaper, they did an op-ed that says,
no, it isn't.
Trump's plan to hide, not help, the homeless is a national disgrace. That's a conservative, right-leaning news organization.
No, it's not.
Owned by a billionaire.
So is fucking Bloomberg. So is the Washington Post. You're not going to say fucking Washington Post is right-leaning, even as much as he might try.
And they say his latest promise to tackle homelessness in Washington represents everything wrong with American politics. Grand gestures that avoid the actual problem while feeding the system that perpetuates it. His pledge to move the homeless far from the capital and make the city more beautiful reveals the shallow theatrics that pass for governance. This is from the Hill.
Yeah.
It also exposes something more disturbing, the deliberate preservation of a crisis that has become too profitable to solve.
Okay, how many people think that this is from an hold on, let me see. Wait, 1 second. Trump, okay. Yeah, it's an op-ed. Hold on. Fuck, this is gonna annoy me. Plan to hide, not help the homelessness, whatever, okay. The Hill 5 days ago was criticized as as a national disgrace. It's an opinion piece by John McGleon. Hold on 1 second. God damn, there's a lot of ads on this fucking thing. Go to the reader version. Thank you. Okay, this is the actual article. And it's John McGleon is a writer and researcher who explores culture, society, and the impact of technology on daily life. This is his. I'll turn off the reader part of it. It says right here, opinion contributor. The views expressed by contributors are their own and not the view of the Hill. Do you see do you see how he puts the Hill up there and the big thing? That you have to squint to see that on his fucking screen, and then he cuts below it so you don't see the rest of that part of it. And then
Right-leaning news organization owned by Bill.
well, it doesn't matter what they're leaning because that's an opinion piece. So either that person is guaranteed a spot or they have bought their way onto the website.
Billionaire, and they say
And they say in the area that says opinion White House, this part right here, right? See that part? Yeah. It matters. This matters. Okay, so he reads through that part. We already saw that shit. Too profitable to solve. Okay.
so. It doesn't seem like they're actually. So what they're saying here is
So the uncomfortable truth is that homelessness could be eliminated relatively quickly. Through direct housing programs and coordinated services, the model works, provide immediate shelter, mental health treatment. But this guy's arguing against the mental health treatment. Okay, hold on. So this is John McLeon writing this whole thing. We'll go with what the article actually says. Because he's going to go through pieces of it. Cities like Houston have demonstrated this, reducing their homeless population by more than 60% through direct housing programs and coordinated services. Also, Texas, fuck me. Texas has a history of busing their homeless to California. The model works. Provide immediate shelter. You can provide all you want. The issue is that some people are going to have to be made to go. That's the question here. Mental health treatment and job training while removing bureaucratic barriers that trap people in the system. Oh boy. They get trapped in the system. Why? Because if they start making a living, they're no longer considered homeless, and so therefore there's a tiered entry level. There should be a tiered entry level, and there isn't. It's just a cold turkey thing. It's neither complicated nor costly. Next to the waste built in the current approach. It is. This is. Anybody who talks about the homeless as if they're one group of people is an asshole. Yet Washington, like most other people, maintains a sprawling homelessness industry that consumes hundreds of millions annually by producing minimal results. What looks like incompetence often hides intent. This isn't conspiracy. It's how entrenched systems protect themselves. I don't know why that's a fucking hot link. Let's see. Total Homeless California Policy Center. America's Homeless Industrial Complex. Okay, so the California Policy Center. Well, let's tell you. Sorry. Fuck, what are you trying to do? There you go. Our team. The California Policy Center, an educational nonprofit working for the prosperity of all Californians by eliminating public sector barriers to freedom. Sounds like bullshit to me. CPC, aspires to make California the freest and most prosperous region in the nation. A place where everyone can get a fair shake in life, where families can afford to live and flourish. Or they have a vision of purpose. Like many blue states, California's public policy is driven by government union leaders, buoyed by $1 billion in annual dues and revenue, blah, blah, blah. So this is an organization that's against, state and federal unions, I guess. At CPC, we know firsthand, until we rein in government union power, there's little hope for reform in our state. This is the organization that the guy writing the article is referencing that Jimmy chooses. So the California Policy Center thinks that the problem is all this fucking tax dollar spending trying to help people is the problem. Is the guy in this, or is he just writing for them? Yeah. Fuck you. So, entrenched systems, it's in the home sector, funding formulas reward headcounts, not housing placements. Where nonprofits and agencies grow their budgets by by proving the crisis persists, not by ending it. Okay, they can't end it. It's not going to end. You can diminish it, you can help it, there'll be waves, but the people handing out hot meals are not going to end homelessness. Decades of war on campaigns from poverty to drugs show the failure can be more lucrative than success. A permanent crisis secures permanent funding, staff program. Okay, so yeah, this is this is why Jimmy likes this, because this is the premise of this is that using tax dollars to try and solve homelessness is the problem. Governments can't do shit right. And by the way, this where is this? Cities like Houston have demonstrated this. This is okay. So this is the. Here we go. This is. Yeah, this is. I remember this article. This is Nicholas Kristof in the fucking New York Times. So again, not only is this motherfucker citing mainstream media, he's citing Nicholas Kristof. Okay, so here's how Houston is fighting homelessness and winning. Okay, Kristof is an opinion columnist who reported from Houston and Dallas for this story. Mr. Fortune is a documentary photographer based in Austin, Texas. This is somebody he works with. This is the part they have highlighted from that article. I did not highlight this. Both Dallas and Houston are two Democratic bubbles in Texas that have long faced familiar. Both cities have tried to address the challenge. But smart policy matters far more than good intentions. In Dallas, homelessness worsened for years, and that city now has the most unhoused people in Texas. Meanwhile, the Houston region has slashed homelessness by 60% since 2011. Homelessness is one of the topics of the leader. Houston achieved these results on the cheap, spending very little on its own money on, even as the West Coast cities like LA, San Francisco, Portland, Oregon have poured hundreds of $1 million into this. Okay, so what was their secret? Okay, so there were arguably, there were arguably three elements. First, the city had strong political leaders who herded nonprofits, so they worked in unison rather than competing. All right, so that needs an explanation. Second, Houston's lack of regulation make it easy, quick, and cheap to build new apartments. Building a small one-bedroom can cost less than $200,000, while Los Angeles spends as much as $837,000. Also, the cost of land in Los Angeles is higher. You can't even equate the two, but okay. Apartment, spent as much as $837 per apartment for people who were homeless. Again, it was for the building overall, and it's bifurcated out into that and the safety standards and yada yada. Okay. Third, Houston focused less on general help, such as handing out jackets or providing counseling, and moved on and more on moving people into apartments and providing ongoing care for keeping them housed. Cool. What do you do with it? That's why there's 40% of their homeless are still there. Why? Because they didn't do any of the mental health stuff that the other dude was clamoring about. Okay, but turning point came in 2011 when Houston had the 5th highest number of homeless people in America. That's when the mayor at the time, Anise Parker, a numbers-driven policy wonk, introduced hard-headed new initiatives that her successor, Sylvester Turner, sustained. What unfolded wasn't a triumph of compassion so much as one of evidence, management, and impeccable execution. In that, there were probably broader lessons for governing. To see what Houston's approach looked like in practice, I shadowed Molly Permenter, an outreach worker, one morning. She told me she had fled an abusive home at the age of 16, slept under park benches, used drugs, was sex trafficked. She finally escaped, entered the Coast Guard, and turned her life around, and eventually joined Houston's Coalition for the Homeless to try and help others in the position she'd been in. Permenter understands the challenges. She guesses that if an outreach worker had ever approached her when she was on the street, she might have cursed that person. After parking her car by a small wooded area near George Bush Intercontinental Airport, Permenter cautiously entered the forest along with a colleague from the Coalition. We found an encampment hidden in the trees, home to 10 people whose unofficial leader was a charismatic 31-year-old named Joe Cavazos. Cavazos? Yeah. Lean and muscular. Cavazos said he was a construction worker until a shard of glass fell and cut his arm 6 months earlier, leaving him partly disabled. He lost his job, his car, his home, but he put his skills to use building shacks. One was a 2-story marvel made of wood scraps. Clearly intelligent and industrious. He said he was expelled from high school in the 11th grade, but later studied. A lovely story, good for him. It made me. He was given mental health medication. It made me feel worse. I got ADHD, bipolar personality disorder, schizo. That's what they're telling me. I don't know. I'm perfectly fine. He said he asked Cavazos if he would like to get on a waiting list for housing. He said yes, but didn't know where to start. When he agreed to undergo an assessment, Permenter asked him a series of standard questions. This is the dude, Cavazos. That's the glass shard cut, I guess, on his arm. One of Houston's most popular innovations, Coalition for the Homeless, where, again, an organization, an NGO, if you will. In a recent survey by the Oregonian, 2/3 of unsheltered people in Portland said they had never been approached by an outreach worker offering steps to get housed. And among the 1/3 who had been contacted, there had been no follow-up in 3/4 of the cases. In Houston, every sinew is pulling. That's because every person that says yes immediately gets on the path, and they don't have enough space. That's why you need to build buildings. All right. Anyways, so this is what this dude is citing. This is that Houston solved this through that 60% of their problem through a myriad of issues. By the way, and in solving that issue during the story, this is where these people are. This is her. This is Molly Perminer. She's the woman from the outreach thing. She was homeless. This is where they went into the woods to meet people. It might shock people to know that there are not areas of woods in Los Angeles that they're few and far between, and they're difficult to get to, unlike the area around Houston, which is why people tend to live in the woods. You don't believe me? Go look at Appalachia. You can argue that Appalachia is like 60% homeless encampment with just old buildings. So, anyways.
Doesn't really have a plan to address the root cause of homelessness and fix it. It seems like he just wants...
Sorry, real quick. What's the root cause of homelessness? I mean, they're all robots, right? They all ended up on the street the same fucking way. They all have the exact same challenges. We should just have like one piece of, like, why don't we just hand out a piece of paper that just have, would you like to live in a house? If yes, check this box.
To send them to military bases is what you said, or which would be better than throwing them in prison. My question was, they were able to find all those hotel rooms for all the illegal immigrants that showed up at the snap of a finger. Why can't they do the same thing for homeless people? But
by the way, that's Jimmy taking a swipe at immigrants real quick. The reason that was because that was during COVID, and then the period shortly thereafter, while COVID was still an issue, where people were not traveling as much and hotels were largely open. And quite frankly, a lot of these hotels got an equal amount of money for putting a migrant family or homeless people in their hotels that they would have gotten if they'd been during a tourist season, because they could just kind of name their price. In some cases, they just got the base level of how they could actually keep the doors open or keep the building, because they would have all gone under. In the same way that, people got PPP loans to keep restaurants open because people weren't going there again. But food delivery ended up picking up that part of it. There was a bunch, like hotels, by and large, and recreation centers, movie theaters. Look at fucking movie theaters. Look what happened to them. Because they weren't dual purpose facilities. Hotels are. And here's not the issue. The amazing part is that as temporary housing, that works. But you can't create a secondary, like permanent housing if the idea is to get people back into a real place of their own. So stupid.
let me just go on here. It says
by the way, he only brought that up because he wanted to slam the fact that somehow immigrants were getting free shit.
Comfortable truth is that homelessness could be eliminated relatively quickly. Cities like Houston have demonstrated this. Reduced.
Yeah. How could you get rid of something with as complex an issue relatively quickly without eugenics being a part of it?
Their homeless population by more than 60% through direct works.
We looked at this.
Provide immediate shelter, mental health treatment, and job.
Your guest is arguing that providing immediate shelter has to be optional, and if they don't want to go, they can set up a tent on the street, which is commons paid for by the taxpayer, where we have rules so that wheelchairs don't have to go into traffic. And he's saying they should have the right in the agency to just live on the top of a building if they want to. Anywhere they can set up their tent, they should be able to do that and not register with anybody, not tell you where they are. So if you become which is like in Chicago, they went through and did like a census of the homeless in Lower Wacker and found 200 people on the sex offender registry that had a hard time finding a place to live. Shocker. And they were all within walking distance of a school because they were homeless. They just set up their camp there. You can't rent a place that close to the fucking school, but you can set up a tent. And if nobody asks you for ID, or you just lose your ID and they don't fingerprint you for just like, you're not being charged with homelessness, right? Or they don't check you for something. If you're not grilling on the street, or they find some reason to actually figure out who the fuck you are, you can just stay there. But you know what? These people should not be forced to not live on the street, is his guest's argument.
Training while removing bureaucratic barriers to trap people in the system. It's neither complicated nor...
By the way, anybody who says trap people in the system is an anti-welfare person. They believe that anybody who gets help from the government is going to stay on that tit forever because people are inherently weak, especially poor people. So fuck that noise.
Costly.
By the way, from a guy who got food assistance in my elementary school, I don't think that anybody could argue that I'm not a bit of a go-getter.
Next to the waste built into the current approach. So this, keep in mind, but to put someone in jail, in California at least, it costs $130,000 a year. Now, I'm sure you could service and help a homeless person for a lot less, for a fraction of that cost. I'm sure you could get them housing and for less than $130,000.
Well, shit. If Jimmy's sure, I don't even know why we're arguing about this. Why does the government have to do anything? Why even form an NGO? I'm sure it costs less than that. This information would be based on what? Their caloric needs? What are you going to do? Give them a fucking power bar and a milkshake every day and go, there's your 3,000 calories, fucko.
$1,000 a year. Yet Washington, like most major cities, maintains a sprawling homelessness industry that can...
Industry. Think about what an asshole you would have to be to say that a city, any city, maintains a sprawling homelessness industry. Think about it. Imagine yourself typing that shit.
Consumes hundreds of millions annually while producing minimal results. What
I'm beginning to think that the results that this guy wants is them all dead.
looks like incompetence often hides intent. This isn't conspiracy broad paranoia. It's how...
Conspiracy board? Maybe it's supposed to be born?
entrenched systems protect themselves. So what they're saying here is that we have a system...
Yes. Tell us what they're saying, Jimmy.
set up, which we throw hundreds of millions, $24 billion we threw into the homelessness problem here in California, but none of that money seems to...
Hold on real quick. California, state with 45 million people in it. Audit finds California spent $24 billion on homelessness in 5 years. Didn't consistently track outcomes. Did it fail? Were more people harmed than helped? California spent $24 billion to tackle homelessness over the past 5 years, but didn't consistently track whether the huge outlay of public money actually improved the situation, according to state audit released Tuesday. With makeshift tents, whoops, this is the whole thing, get out of here, lining the streets and disrupting businesses, oh dear. In cities and towns throughout California, homelessness has become one of the most frustrating and seemingly intractable issues in the country's most populous state. An estimated 171,000 people are homeless in California, which amounts to roughly 30% of all the homeless in the United States. Again, because they fucking live. You know why there aren't as many homeless people in New York and in Chicago and in Detroit? Snow. Jesus. Despite the roughly billions of dollars spent on more than 30 homeless and housing programs during the 2018 to 2023 fiscal years, California doesn't have reliable data needed to understand why the problem didn't improve in many cities, according to the state's audit. Also, COVID happened in the middle of that, you dumb fuck. This report concludes that the state must do more to assess the cost effectiveness of its homelessness program, said the state auditor Grant Parks, who wrote in a letter to Gavin Newsom and lawmakers. The audit analyzed 5 programs that received a combined $13.7 billion in funding. It determined that only 2 of them were likely cost effective, including one that converts hotel and motel rooms into housing and others. Oh my God. The very thing that Jimmy was saying, why we could do that for immigrants, why can't we do it for the number he's citing? The program that they said you could actually track good outcomes was them converting hotel and motel rooms into housing. It's exactly what he was saying, blaming immigrants for taking up fucking space. And of the 5 programs they looked into with the $13.7 billion in funding, I'm sure the rest of the billion that they're talking about comes in somewhere else, determined only 2 of them were likely cost effective. The first one they mentioned is converting hotel and motel rooms, and God damn it. Under the $3.6 billion program that converts hotel and motel rooms, which is a linchpin in Newsom's homelessness plan, the average cost of a room is at least 2.5 times cheaper than building a new home, the audit found. The Housing Assistance Program, which has received $760 million over the past 5 years, gives an average of $12,000 to $22,000, depending on which county, to help low-income families stay in their homes. This is to stop people before they fall through the cracks. And once they're in the house, they'll give them assistance to make sure that they stay above board. And by the way, according to Jimmy and this fuckhead he has on, this is part of the problem. These people are trapped in a cycle of dependence because these lazy, good-for-nothing mothers and their broods of future poor people are getting $12,000 to $22,000 to not live on the fucking street. Ugh. Okay, despite the auditor office's professionalism and best efforts, they are at this time unable to draw conclusions about things like whether or not overhead is appropriate or too high. This is about contractors building things, which is another thing entirely too. California is facing a concerning paradox. Despite an exorbitant amount of dollars spent, the state's homelessness population is not slowing down. Again, you know what slows down a fucking homelessness problem? Winter. And we don't have one. Seriously. New York, Chicago, Detroit, all those cities would have a way worse homelessness problem, but the people die. Ours are alive. Okay. So chat room, you guys know I've talked about this before. But one of the things that exacerbated the problem of homelessness was an insistence on releasing people from prison early. There are a lot of people on the street. There is a statistically significant number of them. And if you're talking about a 20% rise in homelessness, which sounds enormous, a lot of that is we got too many people in jail, we need to release them. And a bunch of them don't have many friends anymore because of the way they ended up committing their crimes. They're sex offenders or those kind of things. It's very hard to find a fucking job or a place to live if you're in that situation. And they got out early. And it's on their record. You show up at a job interview and you're like, hey, you got 20 years for raping a woman and they let you out after 8? Pass. Right? There's lots of those fucking people. And that is the result, by the way, of getting people out of jail early. Never mind the fucking traumatic victims, the people who are acted on, who end up homeless in some cases or drug addicted because they were brutalized. That's another fucking conversation. And again, this goes to the point that I have that everybody wants to paint the homeless like it's a fucking tribe they belong to. Like homeless is it's like being Irish or Apache. You're homeless. Like you all smoke the same peace pipe and wear the same, shirts and ties or whatever. Like there's a uniformity there's as many, and this is the thing, people who are homeless are as individual in the cause of their homelessness as anybody else in the struggle that they have with disease or family or addiction. Anybody who stays in their home after they become addicted, anybody who stays in their home or continues in school, they have a struggle they go through every fucking day to try to beat their addiction and stay in school and all that. That's people with houses. So of course people without houses have just as many individual reasons why they end up where they are. So this idea that you're just gonna fucking, it's the homeless that I blame, like, it's fucking gross. It's bigoted is what it is. And then there is no better example of the bigotry of this shit than saying there's a homeless industrial complex, hold on, and like, in these entrenched systems protecting themselves, these people who are helping the fucking homeless are the problem. If we didn't help these people, they'd help themselves. What a bunch of fucking Ayn Rand pamphlet bullshit.
Actually be spent. It actually goes into what Michael Schellenberger called a homelessness industrial complex.
Oh my God. Yet another asshole who will tack industrial complex onto anything. Let's do the censorship industrial complex next. You can talk all about the censorship industrial complex on Twitter and YouTube at the same time while you're being censored, except you aren't.
People get rich off of servicing homelessness.
Yeah, that's what you see those fuckers that volunteer and work on and keep those organizations up and running. They all just live in these giant mansions. You know those people? Fuck them.
So they don't ever want to actually fix the problem because then they'd be out of a job. And as we said, they already spent $24 billion in California, and that goes right into the pockets of people running NGOs, non-government.
No, it does not. So this asshole actually thinks that well, let's look at that. Okay. How do we okay, I have an idea of like how to address this. Okay, let's do a little bit of math, kids, shall we? Clearly you're starting to recognize this is something that fucking matters to me. As somebody who has volunteered at the mission on Skid Row, that's worked at soup kitchens and food pantries and that kind of stuff. We donate stuff all the time, like clothing and that kind of stuff. All right. So this obviously matters. All right. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So let's get. All right. Let's go to, okay, so average daily, okay, 365 days a year. Okay, so the average daily calorie intake of a human being, average, 2,200 calories per person per day. Some need more, some need less. This will average out 2,200. Rough estimate. If you have 170,000 homeless people in California at any given time, approximately, they are going to consume 136.5 billion calories over the course of a year. And how much, let's see. What would be the cost of those calories? I'm just going to do a general, okay. If you're talking the average, let's see. Okay, so the cost of just getting 2,200 calories into each of these individuals 170,000 homeless people, and that's, again, a fluctuating number, people who come in and come out, whatever, but around there, rock solid. 2,200 calories a day of food for each of these people, if you're just trying to do that. You know how much that would cost? You know how much that would cost? $413 million a year. Just to feed the homeless in California. $413 million. And that's not like, they're not getting, 3,500 calories. They're not gaining weight on this. 2,200. My maintenance calories. I'm 5'9", $165, fully clothed, soaking wet. My maintenance calories are around 2,600. If I want to put on weight, I would need, 2,800. If I'm healing from an injury, right? Okay. Somebody says California can afford it. Not my point. What Jimmy is arguing is that they're wasting a bunch of money. So over the course of 5 years, the $24 billion, a lot of it goes to housing. Okay. So let's do the math on, let's see, single family, whoops. Let's see, let's just go with a bachelor apartment in California. Rural cost per month. Okay, this is the absolute base bottom of what you would expect. About $1,000 to $2,000 a month for a bachelor studio or one bedroom in California, and not in LA, in Bakersfield, in rural California. $1,000 to $200. So let's just say, what do you think? 140,000 people live alone. There you go. Allow. There we go. Let's see. So that's another. So that's, we're talking $140 million just to put them in a bachelor apartment, just a one single room. Then you include people that they are giving assistance to keep on top of that. I'm using 1,000, the absolute base level. Okay, it's $140 million a year to keep 140,000 of them housed. If you just try to give everybody a place. Okay, this is just getting to solving this shit as best we can. Okay. So you're talking about minimum $500 million a year for maintenance calories and a bachelor apartment, a single room with a hot plate and a toilet and a shower, right? At the absolute bottom end. Yeah, $1,200 for a one bedroom in Chicago. Yeah. Well, and again, that's because of the winters, right? Okay, I'm talking about California. This is the whole fucking state, by the way. $500 million every year just to care for, at the absolute baseline, homelessness. And this is without trying to build more homes. This is without medical care. This is without mental health care or medications for any of these people. Right? That's why HUD and food pantries exist. It's not cheap. Exactly, Ali Osher. Exactly. Because I'm not even counting the people who are on the bubble who are trying to keep from bursting. And that's part of what California technically spends on homelessness. Is a huge portion of that is making sure that people who are in housing or in Section 8 housing and that kind of stuff don't fall below the line and end up homeless again. So they get support over that time. And some of these folks, I got news for you, aren't dependent on the system. They're just never going to get out of it. They don't have family. They've got the disabilities, something about them, they're incapable. They're not going to be able to get a job. They have no skill that will allow them to work from that bachelor and, make a bunch of money and break out of that, because they are on an intellectual level either incapable of it or they are damaged or whatever. So there's a bunch of folks in there that are, and it's not because they are morally broken. It's not because there's something wrong with them. It's that their system hasn't caught up to the modern needs of whatever economy we have, and we don't live in the fucking early 19th century or the late 19th century, early 20th century, where those people would just fucking die, right? Again, a big portion of this is because a long time ago, this is like when RFK, like we didn't have all these chronic diseases when I was a kid. That's because people just died. They fucking died. They never got to live that long. People with spina bifida lasted 3 months, not 20 years. They just threw them down a fucking well. They pretended they didn't have a kid or that it was a miscarriage in the 10th month. The only thing wrong with them is America. This is not, no. Hooligan Grundy, this is not about where they are. I got news for you. Same thing happens. It's the same shit all over. The question is volume of, of goods and services available, just resources, effort. You have to prioritize it. Having a house is not a right. Providing a house is our responsibility. Does that make sense? Nobody's born with a roof over their head. Nobody. That they're guaranteed by their God and their creator. Houses have to be made. They have to be physically constructed by the efforts of other fucking people. And to do that, we have to take responsibility. If you're saying home, it's that like having a home, having shelter is a right, it isn't. It's not inalienable to anyone. Ask any of the fucking founding fathers or anybody that lived in a tent or under a fucking tree half the time, especially people who are like moving west or the Spanish, or like all kinds of crazy shit. It's not a right. It's a responsibility. We, those of us that can, have a responsibility to both help in any way we can on a personal level and only vote for people that will solve the issues we give a shit about. And what Jimmy and this fuckhead are saying is that both of those groups don't exist and are impossible and everything is a waste of effort. And so it's probably better off if Trump just kills these people. As long as we don't see it, it doesn't really happen. And it's a couple of, it's softer than Auschwitz, so what are you going to do? We have, look, you have the right to free speech because someone has to actively cover your mouth to stop you from talking. Do you understand? You have an innate ability to speak. Free association. You have a right to stand where you want to stand, right? With another person. You could be with another person if they want you to be with them and hang out with them and talk. Like nobody can separate you if you want to be together. That's because there's nothing inherent that both people have the ability to make that happen on their own. That's a right. Shelter is a society's responsibility. And I am sick to death of hearing this described as a fucking right, as if it magically happens out of nowhere and that someone else is going to fucking solve it. Because that's the problem when you describe everything as a right. If you have, and the same thing, by the way, applies to healthcare. Healthcare is not a right. It's a fucking responsibility. A good society, a strong country, especially one as prosperous as ours, should be able to provide baseline healthcare for all of its citizens. Not because it's a right or it would just magically, we'd all just fucking handle snakes and praise Jesus and our fucking tumors would go away. It doesn't. Because it's not a right. It's a responsibility. And these words matter. Because when you call it a right, you make it somebody else's fucking problem. It's a right. It should just happen. I'll be over here. It's bullshit. It's a lie people tell themselves. And it takes away the effort and hard work that happens when someone becomes a doctor, becomes a nurse, works on a medicine, tries to discover new treatments and surgeries for stuff. Fucking Ignaz Semmelweis. We didn't have a right to Ignaz Semmelweis saving the life of every person who's alive on the planet right now. You know how he did that? Does anybody know? I brought him up before, and it's very important. Do we have a right to go shake Ignaz Semmelweis to go, tell us, you better tell us how to save lives or we're going to kill you? We didn't. You know what Ignaz Semmelweis came up with? Wash your hands after you touch a dead body before you give birth, before you help a woman give birth. As a doctor, when you're done working with this dead body and fucking teaching a class using a corpse, wash your hands. After lunch, if you're going to help a woman give birth, wash your fucking hands. That's what he came up with. They kicked him out of the medical establishment. He lost his license. Because doctors are like, how fucking dare you? Does that sound like a situation where we all had the right to survive this shit? Mm-mm. He had a responsibility to tell people what he knew to be true. And he paid for it. And instead of respecting the responsibility that we have to, which we took as a society, to pass laws and regulations, yes, the ever important regulations, that doctors have to do this, most of the people that are alive now wouldn't be alive. Children would die there wouldn't even be like a NIC ward. No one has the right to health care. But we, as a society, have a moral responsibility to provide it to anyone who can't get it and to make sure that we're in tip-top shape as best we can so that we don't pass along a disease or we're not a burden to our fellow humans by exercising and eating right and the like. That's a responsibility. Homelessness cannot be solved by someone shaking their fist about rights. Because according to this asshole that Jimmy has on, you also have a right to just fucking die in a puddle of your own urine on the street if that's how you want to go. And society has no responsibility to try and save you from that mental illness. I think we do. Commie. No, because communism would mean that we all have to, I guess, take turns at state homelessness wards or some shit, whatever. I would argue that you can, in your private life, you can make that decision whether you want to volunteer or not, or help in whatever way you see fit. But you can also choose your leaders in a way that will spend your tax dollars, because they're going to, on stuff you prefer. Food, not bombs, for example. If that matters to you, then who you vote for actually does. It has there is a response that comes from you voting that makes it your responsibility. Flutter by Dragon, I volunteer once a week. Good. Good for you. Other than that, I have no opinion. That's right, John. Okay. I felt like we got more into this dipshittery than we needed to, but it's super fucking important. Almost got through the whole goddamn show just on this one topic. I hope you don't mind, because it matters. This matters. We have to start thinking in terms of our responsibility in these situations. Not just the right that will magically come out of her, because at that point you might as well be a fucking snake handler. Waiting for, you know, milk and honey and manna from heaven to solve the problem. Think about your motivation that comes from someone saying that they have a right to something versus you feeling that you have a responsibility to help. And also, think about in terms of if this person is saying they have a right to your responsibility. You must take care of me. Just think about your reaction to that. You know, I mean, just demanding it. Not about whether it's true or not, whatever it is. Is it better if it comes from you, or is it better that it's demanded by somebody else? Especially if that person is or can be perceived as well, physically capable and the like, okay? So I want to make the case that a good society that democratic principles are based on are not a right. We don't have a right to even live in a democracy. You know how I know? Because most people don't. You have a responsibility, if you live in a democracy, though, to make it work for everybody. Growing up poor, unable to help myself, makes me want to help others. I even fostered children in Florida for 6 years. That's beautiful. They didn't have a right to be in your house, but you felt you had a responsibility to help. That's right. Choose less evil. Ugh. Speaking of ugh, I'll jump to something else, because I think this is kind of funny. You know how everybody that Trump hires is like, we hate how the government works. The government sucks. Let me get a job in government so I can prove it. Government can't do anything right. Elect me and I'll prove it. Well, Jeanine Pirro is now, I guess, the... well, she's on Newsmax right now, but she's... Trump ripped her off of Fox News where they were going to let her go and gave her a job in government, because nothing says bootstrap an American like a government job, according to these folks. Jeanine Pirro exposes the lunacy of the DC law system she's up against as a U.S. attorney. Yeah, fucking Miranda, am I right?
As I told you, if I were a criminal, I would not want her coming after me. I'm talking about the new U.S.
Well, what about fucking... what was his name? It wasn't Phil Spector. It was the other guy. Robert Durst. Yeah. Yeah. Where they played the audio for Jeanine Pirro. If you've ever seen the documentary about Robert Durst, where he confesses while he's in the bathroom, basically, because he left his mic on, the jinx, right? They play the audio years after for Jeanine Pirro, and she's like, wow, no way. Yeah, way, dipshit.
Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro. And if you do not believe me, here's what I said yesterday on this news program. But I just want to go back to Jeanine Pirro, who's the U.S. attorney here, having known her from...
Oh, okay. So it only took you one day to mispronounce her name. Gotcha. Okay.
Fox News forever, and Pam Bondi over at the U.S. Attorney, the United States Attorney General. I just wouldn't mess with either one of those women.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want either one of them on my tail.
Well, unless you're, I guess, Ghislaine Maxwell or Robert Durst or Jeffrey Epstein or anybody who worked with Jeffrey Epstein and anybody who fucked a kid at Epstein Island or at his fucking house in West Palm Beach or at his house in New York, right? In that case, you're in the clear.
Go back to former district attorney in Westchester County in New York, former judge in Westchester County, New York, former colleague of mine at the Fox News Channel, and now the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro. Jeanine, boy, it's great to see you.
It's great to see you, Greta. We had the same memo today on the red jackets. But you're right. We go back a...
First of all, she's wearing orange and you're wearing red. They're two different colors. I don't know. Maybe wine does that to your corneas.
very long time, and both of us have, I think, very similar philosophies about law enforcement and crime in general. But I'm thrilled to be here in the district with you.
I'm thrilled to have you there. And when I said that I wouldn't mess with you, I was serious. You know, frankly, I mean, I don't know if the viewers know, you're a whole lot of fun. You're a whole lot of fun, but
Yeah.
very serious prosecutor, and I really wouldn't want you to be chasing me. I really would.
Yeah, if you're poor. Totally. If you're a poor or middle class criminal, she gets on your tail, you're fucked. But if you're like Durst rich, don't worry about it. She'll overlook every possible turn.
I appreciate that. You know, we've got a lot of chasing to do here in the District of Columbia. There's a lot of crime here, Greta. And, you know, when the president
Yes, we're familiar with the guy who hired you.
decided that he wanted to make D.C. safe and beautiful, the agenda was one that was
The irony.
very clear for me. It's going back to my roots as a prosecutor.
Yes, leaving white-collar criminals and sex offenders alone while going after, like homeless people, I guess.
As a judge, as someone who fights for the victim.
Or violent criminals, which anybody would do.
And I think that people in D.C. for too long have been victimized by violent crime. They had the 4th highest murder rate in the country last year. I mean, think about that.
Is a dude kicking in, is it because it's mad at the automated door isn't working?
D.C. was a state, it would be the most, it would have the highest homicides in the country.
Oh my God. Did you see that? This, how can they show this on television? There are children watching. Did that kid just bust a fucking window and get a bag of chips?
And
the violence.
The fact that
and he ran away. Oh my God.
Rate is like many times that of places like it.
Person of interest one in the great chippening of in D.C. What the fuck does that say? Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. So they've got this random... Oh, my fucking God. Do not tell me the crime is this bad if all you've got to show is a fucking, some dude going, sour cream and onion. I'm going to the next store, crack.
Islamabad and Havana, Cuba and all that.
And you have to play the same clip twice? And she's saying that we have a worse murder rate than Islamabad and all these places where they, A, sanction murder all the time, and B, never actually keep track of real murders.
Indication of how dangerous it is here. And I have to tell you, Greta, looking at all of this, I think...
If it was dangerous, why are they busting into places after hours? I mean, it's not like there's staff in there.
D.C. Council has passed laws that are absurd, and for those...
2 pairs of shoes? God, oh, look at this. 3 pairs of shoes? Guy's only got 2 feet. What the fuck? What a greedy son of a bitch.
It's like the local state law enforcement and the local law enforcement or representatives.
They're running off with an ATM
of the state legislature.
That old chestnut.
And then you've got the DC.
They got a dolly.
Courts. They are so.
And fucking wheeled it out. Just like jackasses at home. Like, you know, they spent all night going, I lost. It's costing me $65 in blades. And then they open it up and there's $50 in it.
Liberal. They go so beyond what the Supreme Court requires that...
Okay, so here you go. This is the dude robbing a place. I would lead with this.
2 weeks ago, I had a guy who shot another kid on a bus, shot him in the chest, okay? He was 19 years old. To me, Greta, you shoot someone in the chest, it's the intent to kill. Well, we convicted him of shooting the other kid in the chest. The judge gave him probation and said you should go to college. That's the end of it. This is what I'm dealing with.
Hold on one second. Okay. 19-year-old DC shoots chest, probation, college. Something like shit show up, right? Here you go. DG judge frees teen who shot man on Metrobus. Javari Peaks, 19, receives probation after shooting incident. Okay. Let's see. Okay, this is former college. It's Janine Pirro bitching about it. Let's see. It's 5 days. Is that the same one? It's July 24th. So this is the okay. This is fucking shrink down, you jerk. Okay. This is judge frees teen who shot man on Metrobus, sparking outrage from interim U.S. attorney Janine. The Youth Rehabilitation Act gives judges broad discretion when sentencing defendants who were under 24 when their crimes were committed, angering prosecutors. A 19-year-old former college football player who shot a man in the chest on a crowded Metrobus in March walked free from court this month after a judge suspended his entire prison sentence under Washington, D.C.'s Youth Rehabilitation Act. Javari Peaks pleaded guilty to felony counts of aggravated assault while armed and possession of a firearm during a crime of violence after video showed him pulling out an unregistered handgun and shooting the victim on the bus. The victim survived after being treated by EMS at the scene. But D.C. Superior Court Judge Rainey Branch stunned prosecutors by suspending Peaks' entire 4-year prison. He would have gotten 4 years. 4 years and 3 years of supervised release, instead sentencing him on to probation under the Youth Rehabilitation Act. YRA gives judges broad discretion while sentencing defendants who were under 24 when their crimes were committed, allowing for alternatives to incarceration except in the most serious cases like murder. Defendants sentenced under the act can also have their crimes shielded from public view. Okay, they've raised it to 24 from 18 is the idea. The lenient sentence enraged interim Janine Pirro as violent teen boarded a public transportation with an illegal firearm, shot the victim in the chest. His actions were reprehensible and dangerous, blah, blah, blah. Despite our request for significant jail time, refused to incarcerate him. D.C. will not give in a ruling. Judge Brandt cited Peaks' age, lack of prior criminal record, and strong family support as reasons for the suspended sentence. The judge also noted that Peaks' cousin had been robbed on public transport 5 months earlier, causing anxiety and paranoia while using transit. So that's why he was carrying the gun, is the idea. Investigators say bus surveillance obtained it showed the victim harassing Peaks in the minutes before the shooting, as the defendant appeared to try avoid the confrontation. Come on. Investigators say bus surveillance video obtained by Channel 9 showed the victim harassing Peaks in the minutes before the shooting, as the defendant appeared to try avoiding confrontation. But legal experts are divided on the sentence. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Jail doesn't make people less violent. We know that it makes people more violent. Johnson said the Youth Act doesn't require the judge to give someone probation, but allows judges to consider individual circumstances. Rejects the approach, arguing that certain people under certain circumstances who are acting the way this young man did should at least be given that opportunity to go to jail, I guess. Okay. So let's listen to how she describes it again while they're playing fucking crime porn on the I guess the side view.
Okay, he was 19 years old. To me, Greta, you shoot someone in the chest, it's the intent to kill. Well, we convicted him of shooting the other kid in the chest. The judge gave him probation, said you should go to college. That's the end of it. This is what I'm doing.
Does anybody notice missing details that might, I don't know, from a judge or from a district attorney might clear up the circumstance a little bit? Might clarify what actually fucking happened? Also, what was he was found guilty of, he pleaded guilty, so they gave him a plea, pleaded guilty to felony counts of aggravated assault while armed and possession of a firearm during a crime of violence. So the crime of violence happened first, and of course he used a gun to do it. So he had a gun. I don't see that in here. It was an unregistered handgun. But fuck, DC, I don't know what their fucking rules are. And they're not going to bring that up because I guarantee like right-wingers don't think any gun should be registered, so they're never going to chase this down.
With. We get gun possession, gun convictions, the judges won't send him to jail. So we've got to turn everything around. It's a mentality. Laws have to be changed. Courts have.
So we got to start, and again, this is shoplifting happening in the background and video from God knows when. Like they don't even bother to time it. Could have happened 3 to 5 years ago. Doesn't matter. But notice how she's like, we get all these gun convictions and nobody wants to charge them. Okay, first of all, talk to your boss. Talk to Trump's crowd and the NRA-backed, wing of the Republican Party and the Freedom Caucasians. You want rules about guns? Go say that next to them. Go, if you gotta, I'm with you. If you want, illegal guns off the streets and tighter controls on who can have them and why, then fucking say so. Gross.
To be changed. It's very bad here in the district, and we're doing everything we can with this surge, working with the metropolitan.
Yes, with this surge. My name is Serge, and how can I help you? Hold on, I'm opening up my buttons again because they decided to go to
Police
sleep.
Department bringing in all our federal.
Here's a guy
We made over 400.
Wait. What the fuck was that? Wait. Look, I understand we're watching fear porn, black people shoplifting.
And we're doing everything we
That's
can
the thing.
with
This
surge,
guy lighting something and throwing it at somebody.
with the Metropolitan Police
Some dude throwing Molotov cocktails, probably in an abortion clinic.
Department, bringing in all our federal partners, and we made over 4.
Apparently, he was maybe I don't know. Maybe somebody just postmated 2 birthday cakes.
150 arrests, I think, since Thursday, and we've collected or taken 70 guns off the street. That's 70 few weapons that people can use to kill other people.
Yeah, imagine if we went all the way. Fucking Beto.
I think you proved my point why I wouldn't want you after me on a serious.
Oh my God, on a serious charge.
You recently
Thanks,
wrote
CSL.
an op-ed.
Yeah.
I live here, and what you wrote in it is about. We talk about crime, but a lot of this crime is done by very young people who are out of reach of the courts because they're not adults.
Yeah, fuck that. We got to start charging kids as adults. That's right. Children need to spend as much time behind bars as a full-grown adult making the same judgments. And you know why? Because that moves us closer to people like Dershowitz saying, well, if a kid can go to jail for killing somebody, who says they can't fuck an old man? Only pedophiles want children tried as adults. Feel free to at me.
And that's a crisis in the city.
Yeah. It is a crisis. The problem is that we've got 14, 15, 16, and 17-year-olds who can actually shoot someone with a gun. I could prove it, but I'm not allowed to even arrest or prosecute or convict that person because
That's not true.
of the laws in D.C. And we
No. Murder is not legal between the ages of 14 and 17 in D.C. No. The fuck out of here. Kyle Rittenhouse shot 2 black people and was found guilty. Kyle Rittenhouse didn't shoot any black people. I'm fairly certain all of Rittenhouse's victims were white. Yeah. Let's see. Anthony Huber and Gage Grosskreutz and Joseph Rosenbaum. Yeah, the hold on, let me show you pictures. Not, we can still move on with the conversation, but let me see if I can find it. Yeah. The people shot by Joseph Rosenbaum, where's the guy over here? Anthony Huber and Grosskreutz. I think that's him. Yeah, that's the other one. Yeah. So no, just saying, it's kind of important.
got to lower the age.
You don't have to. We don't even have to get mucked up in that stuff to be right about what we need to be right about. Okay.
Of responsibility. You can make it consistent with violent crimes. That would make sense. But right now, you've got a bunch of punks running around, gangs and crews that have no accountability, no responsibility. They carjack, and they can do it openly, and we cannot arrest them. They go to the state. Attorney General, and they go to family court, the purpose of which is rehabilitation.
Excuse me, how did they get to the state attorney general and to family court if they weren't arrested? Also, your boss is a rapist.
Ice cream socials and a few yoga things now and then. And that
No, you're thinking of Ghislaine Maxwell.
is not consistent with what we've got to do to clean up this city. They know that they're not going to be arrested. They know that they can actually run around with guns and not be arrested, Greta. This is...
They are being arrested. They're being arrested. What your complaint is that the judge is letting them go, but they are being arrested. Otherwise, how would you even have said, like, that you convicted this guy and you got him charged and the judge let him off? This is so stupid.
lunacy here. And
Yes, it is. It is fucking lunacy. Of course they get arrested.
what the president
you know
is
what?
doing, and I got to... Yeah.
I was going to say that one of the things I think we got to look at in this country, it's been done in a few jurisdictions, is that there was a case here before you arrived where 3 girls, 12, 13, 14, kicked some poor man to death in his 60s, a disabled man on the street. And they, you know, it was after midnight, I think. And I think you got to go after some of these parents, you know, find some laws to hold the parents to get their kids in at home. I mean, there's a lot of parental responsibility that we've got to figure out some way to include the parents, to put the, you know, maybe the laws need to be changed so the parents.
Here's the thought. What if they don't actually have any? Okay, sorry. Let's see. Yeah. So they're talking about the killing of Reggie Brown. And one of the, they've got, most of them, the girls that did this, let's see, they pleaded guilty to downgraded charge of assault with dangerous weapon. DC sentenced the girl to 3 years in a secure detention. She'll be committed until she turns 19, which will be in November of 2027. Yeah, so they were put in juvie, essentially. This happens all the time. She was one of 5. The weird part is that the other 4, I guess, didn't get a court sentence man to 15-year prison. Here's Washington, D.C. Killing man in the Northeast. Okay, that's different. 1 second. I'm trying to find the other allow. Yeah, whatever. 15-year-old girls found guilty. Yeah, okay. This is the story they're talking about, the death of Reggie Brown. Let's see. Under D.C. law, the girls could face a maximum sentence of imprisonment until the age of 21. That's what they do with children, is that they imprison them until they're 21 years old. 2 girls, ages 13 and 14, were found guilty of second-degree murder in the beating death of 64-year-old man. The verdict was handed down by the Superior Court Judge Kendra Briggs on Monday, more than a year after the harrowing crime took place. That's not weird. That happens all the time. Under D.C. law, the girls could face a maximum sentence of imprisonment to the age of 21. They kicked him to death last year because they were bored and looking for something to do. The teen who proposed the plan testified last month at the trial of the 2 other girls charged in his murder. We were pretty much satisfied, said one of Reggie's older sisters, but we also are going to not stop until we get justice for the guy who initiated this whole thing with my younger brother. 5 girls, ranging in age from 12 to 15, are accused of chasing down Brown and kicking and beating him to death in an alley in the 6200 block of Georgia Avenue Northwest on October 17th of last year. 2 of the girls have pleaded guilty, including the oldest, a 15-year-old, who was sentenced to 3 years in prison for assault with a dangerous weapon. Prosecutors called the teen as a key witness. 15-year-old said she and the other members of the group had been hanging out at a skate park in Silver Spring, Maryland, but wanted something else to do after returning to her home in the district. It was then she proposed to go find someone to beat up. Why did she suggest that? Because we were bored. They headed down to the intersection of Georgia Avenue and Sheridan Street in D.C.'s Brightwood. It was there they saw an unknown man already attacking Brown, who was lying on the ground. It was there they saw an unknown man already attacking Brown, who was lying on the ground. The 15-year-old said she asked the man if they could help him beat him up. When he agreed, they all began chasing Brown, who had attempted to run away from the man while they were talking to him. Surveillance video shows the teens and the unknown man chasing Brown through an alley until they finally catch up with him. Then one of the girls used her cell phone to record while the group repeatedly taunted him as they beat and kicked him. Members of Brown's family who attended the trial stepped out of the hallway before prosecutors played the graphic video. When he was they mocked him for bleeding. Damn you, leaking, they said. They testified that Brown died of blunt force trauma to the head, which caused bleeding to his brain. Do you remember what you were thinking when you walked back to the alley? He's dead, the girl said. Two girls found guilty of second-degree murder charges will be sentenced in December. Terrible case. You'll notice, and you can argue about whether they deserve more time or whatever, but I would argue that a 12-year-old doesn't have the same judgment as a 19-year-old or an 18-year-old, or certainly this unknown man that was with them. And the idea that somehow they chose to jump in because this guy, the other guy, thought he deserved it or whatever. They're kids. But what you can argue with is that they were arrested, they were put on trial, and they were found guilty. And this is why Dems fund after-school programs, because bored kids do dumb shit. Yes, a myriad of things. Yeah, absolutely. So, again, they're talking about the Reggie Brown case. That's what she means. Two more of them are going to be sentenced and have not yet. One of them got sentenced to 3 years till she was 19 because they can't tell. That's why they pled them out, too. They don't know which person was responsible for the last hit, right, that killed him. And the one, they could believe that he was unconscious and they thought he was dead and they walked away because they were children and he was still alive, and the guy who was with them, who they don't know, could have kicked him and killed him, and that was what he died of, and they can't prove it. So that's why it would be, like, why in court, if you got a bunch of girls, why you would charge them differently by age and by responsibility from the video they saw and all that kind of stuff. So it's crucial to this. Does anybody think, though, that is indicative of the problem most well-to-do DC people who are bitching to Trump and Pirro or Greta experience in the crime they see? Or do you think they're watching fucking like theft porn on their fucking phone most of the time and are panicked about it? Or you have the big balls thing, which, by the way, they will try people for that. People will go to jail for that if they catch them.
Feel some of the responsibilities so they do more responsible things.
Yeah, so they're going to charge the parents. Yeah, you mean like Democrats suggest about school shootings?
And you know, Greta, years ago, I recommended the same thing because our frustration level is so great. We're looking for some control. And who has the ultimate control over a child? A parent. But
No. The ultimate control over a child is ultimately, whether mature or not, the mind of that child. And again, you could argue that in some of these cases, the control over that child had been ceded to another kid.
problem is a lot of these kids, don't have parents who were there or who are interested in what they're doing. A lot of them have left home. Some of them are runaways. Some of them in gangs. Some of them in foster care. I believe in parental accountability and responsibility.
Even for the foster care. So let me get this straight. What you're going to transfer somebody to a foster, to foster parents, and 2 weeks later they do something like this because of the shit they've been through in their fucking life or whatever happened to them, or just because they're kind of ratty at that point, or they're going through some sort of phase, or they're that's their identity as far as they think, whatever they think of themselves. That's, their toughness and their meanness is part of their identity that's kept them alive this long in their own mind, right? And you're going to charge what? The foster parents that just got assigned them that kid 2 weeks ago? Because the kid snuck out? Because they don't run their house like a fucking prison?
But unfortunately, that doesn't solve the extent of the problem that we have here. And you've got older kids telling younger kids to, commit crimes or to shoot or to carjack. They torch a car, Greta, and I can't not prosecute them.
Why would you not want to prosecute them? Yeah, she said she can't not prosecute them.
This is crazy. If you're 16 under Title 16, if you're 16 or 17, I can only prosecute you for rape 1, murder, sexual abuse, robbery, armed robbery, and burglary 1. Nothing else.
Yeah, that covers a lot of shit. Burglary 1 would probably cover a car.
Nothing else.
What do you think? Like, carjacking doesn't fall under assault and theft?
You know what's crazy, Greta? I got to write an op-ed piece on this soon. There's no definition of manslaughter in D.C. Think about that. Think about it, Greta. You and I have been trained in the law. There's no definition of manslaughter. I mean, there's a lot that needs to be done. And my next...
Hold on. In Washington, D.C., manslaughter is defined as the unlawful killing of a human being without malice aforethought. It is a general intent crime that differs from murder because it requires less culpability. Manslaughter in D.C. can be either voluntary or involuntary, and specific penalties are outlined in D.C. Code 222105. D.C. Code 222105 defines the crime of involuntary manslaughter. In the district, here's the unlawful act, reckless and grossly negligent. Lawful act, examples of situations involuntary manslaughter. Okay, key points in involuntary. So what she's saying is voluntary manslaughter? Is that the idea? In Washington, and it says the can either be voluntary or voluntary, and the specific penalties are outlined in D.C. Code. Key points of manslaughter. Lack of malice, voluntary versus involuntary. Voluntary manslaughter occurs when a person intentionally kills another in the heat of passion, often due to adequate provocation, which would be what she was trying to get that 19-year-old on the bus. The guy was provoking him, but he killed him at the height of passion. It wasn't murder. It was voluntary manslaughter. She thinks that's not something that could get him on, but that's what she wanted to go for, in theory. Involuntary manslaughter was recovered. Penalties for manslaughter in D.C. is imprisonment up to 30 years and or a fine. Firearms. If a firearm is involved, there's a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 to 10 years. And an adult. Maybe what she means is there's no manslaughter definition. Let's see. Juvenile court manslaughter is what she means. Juvenile division person not yet reached this thing. Manslaughter definition, nope, it's the same. Trial as an adult. Under specific circumstances, particularly for serious offenses like murder, they can charge 16, 17-year-olds as adults. Additionally, D.C. Attorney General's office can petition a judge to charge. Oh, so she can petition a judge to charge juvenile offenders age 15 and above as adults if there's evidence that the juvenile lacks reasonable prospects for rehabilitation in the juvenile system. If a juvenile is tried and convicted as an adult, the penalties for manslaughter can be severe, including imprisonment and fines. It's not even... What the fuck? Back into the box of wine, lady. Okay. I think we can conclude today, ladies and gentlemen, if I do say so to everyone today, that we can all learn something here in this church of human experience that we all find ourselves in. You're born into this church, you're going to live in this church, you're going to die in this church. The church of human experience, where you experience a lot of shit. I'm just saying to you. And you're standing here in front of God, and everybody, whether you believe in God or everybody, you're going to go through some shit, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yes. You're going to experience some fucked up things left and right. And what you're going to experience today, the lesson, is that the world is chock full of dumbasses. Can I get an amen? Ladies and gentlemen, in the choir that I'm preaching to, we are surrounded on all sides by people who, in the words of my granddaddy, are flat ate up with the dumbass. And the biggest limitation, I dare say, if I'm trying to be charitable to our dear friends who are a bit mess, but are still congregants in the church of being a human being. If I could say, one of the biggest limitations is that these motherfuckers can't read. That's right. They can make the words out in the books. They can point to them and say, that's a word, and that's a word, and I know that word and that word, but they can't put it all together. They can't put it all together. They can't take the meanings individually of these words and jam them together as they are written in the word before them and glean, if I could say glean, Sexual chocolate. If I can glean from the evidence laid out before us in the church of human experience, ladies and gentlemen, that these motherfuckers can't look at how the sin tax, if I do say, and we're all in the church of human experience, we're paying a sin tax every day. And today the tax we are paying is for the sin of being a dumbass, or that these people choose to be. I don't say that they're born this way. This is an active participation, if you know what I'm saying. And they can look at the words laid out in a sentence, in a paragraph, in a chapter in a book, on a poster, going across the bottom of a foreign film even. And while they can break down each word and they can read them in order out loud to give the illusion that they know what those words mean, they do not garner any kind of message, any kind of information, anything that would help them grow their intellect from the connection of those words. Yes, every word they read on a page is separate in and of itself. Motherfucker. So, Lord, we're going to take a moment right now. We're going to pray for these dumbasses that one day they will look into a book and instead of seeing a bunch of sticks and bendy lines all going in one direction, they will recognize the pattern created by the connection of these words that might form into, dare I say, ideas. The kind of things that thoughts are made of. They will hold that thought in their mind and go, oh shit, this whole time I have been ate up with the dumbass. Amen. Thank you very much. Praise Jesus. And if you could throw a little bit in the trough for us, we're only here by the grace of our viewers, ladies and gentlemen. Hit that like and subscribe for the Lord. And we will see you next time. I feel slightly bad that I do not have a gospel version of my theme song. So we're going to have to settle for an orchestra. Open your heart up. Recognize that some people see a word on a page with a word after it, another word, and another word, and another word, but they never have the ability to connect the meaning of those words so they can figure out what the fuck the book is about. Praise Jesus and pass some mashed potatoes. I can't believe the show worked this well. That's a blessing in and of itself. Shit. Running off my iPad. Way to go. I'll see you guys tomorrow. By the way, I'm going to be on Stephanie Miller on Monday. I'm going to be on Brian Karam on Sunday. And I'm going to be on Tara's show on Thursday next week. So this is being crazy. Too much of me. And Friday, we're going to have a show at Flappers. Get your ass down there or join our Patreon and get to watch it for free or become a member on the YouTube channel. That's another way to do it. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else. Where are the fucking credits? Here they come. That's right, Lord. Oh, praise Jesus. You're goddamn right. Shit. Well, that's what I said. There we go. There we go. Do something nice for somebody today. It is your responsibility to the Lord. Come out.
Groovy. All I'm offering is the truth. Nothing.
Throw me a freaking bone here. I'm the boss.
Hell yes. Sexual chocolate. Take it. Take it. Take it for the Lord. Oh, hell yes. Well, I'm fucking around. I'm getting out of here. Help us out. Yes, Lord. Well, get it on. You take it and you like it. Ouch. Sexual chocolate.